Good evening, everybody. Let's call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Adoption of the first item on the order of business, adoption of the agenda. Is there any changes from administration? None. Any from council? Nope. Hearing none, can I get a motion to adopt the agenda, please? Yeah, Councillor Stout.
So moved, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. All right. Consent agenda, we have. On the consent agenda tonight, I move that council consent to approve the following agenda items. Item 4A, regular council meeting, March 13, 2018 minutes. Item 4B, committee of the whole, March 20 to 28 meeting minutes. Item 9A, that council accept Councillor Stout's committee report. Whoops. Hang on, no, I'm just reading my thing. Did you have one too, Kathy? No. Yeah. Item 9A, that a council accept Councillor Barnhart, her Councillor Stout's committee report. And item 11A, the Yellowhead Regional Library 2017 annual report is information. Can I get any discussion on the motion? None? Councillor Barnhart.
I will move the acceptance of the consent agenda.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. All right, next item on the agenda, item 5A. We have a non-statutory development, or a public hearing for a non-statutory development permit number 2018-006, a home-based business permit in the Direct Control District. Can I ask Ms. Raymond to come down or Ms. Winder?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to members of council and the public, the purpose of the permit application is for a home-based business at Plan 972-0116, 18 Colonial Gate in a district control district. The notice of non-statutory public hearing was given in writing to the applicant and the adjacent property owners. The non-statutory public hearing notice was advertised in the local newspaper on March 9th and 16th, 2018. Written submissions received are included in the non-statutory public hearing agenda package, and there is nothing to read into the record further. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. So now we'll ask Mr. Mayor to come down and give us a quick overview.
All right, thank you, Your Worship and members of council. We're here tonight to hold a public hearing for development permit number 2018-066, which is for a home-based business located at 18 Colonial Gate. The purpose of the home-based business is for an off-site vending machine service delivery, and only one delivery is expected per month. The home-based business will house primarily an office and telephone use. The subject property is located in a direct control district, and council is the deciding authority for this property. The application was circulated to adjacent landowners and advertised on the town's website. One letter was received from the condo board, this is within a condominium property, who had no objections to the proposed home-based business. However, they did raise a question regarding signage being included within the recommended development permit conditions, as they contradict the condo bylaws. However, the development permit conditions relate to land use bylaw compliance, and compliance with condominium bylaws is the responsibility of the homeowner. Administration has prepared recommended permit conditions for council's review and approval in attachment 1. These recommended conditions are based on land use bylaw regulations, the nature of the business, and consideration of adjacent properties. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions of council for Ms. Raymond? Okay, hearing none. Thank you very much. As we move forward, we're going to be asking people to come up and speak to and for. I'd ask that you come up, state your name clearly for the record, and then we'll go forward. So, is the applicant present tonight, wishing to make a presentation?
No, I'm here to represent the board, the Condo Association,
Okay.
the president, which is my boss, i.e. my wife.
Okay, so yeah, we'll get to you. Next is the applicant. So if the applicant's not here, is any person in favor of the proposed home-based business? There you go.
How do I turn this on? Just now?
It's on now, yeah.
Okay, name's Harry Zuzak. I live at 11 Colonial Gate. You have the information before you. Everybody's in favor of it. We requested that that item B under appearance be taken out. Kendra's or Ms. Raymond has indicated that it needs to stay in. My only comment there is the Condo Association is under the Condominium Act. I'm not sure, i.e., that your decision, i.e., can overcome the Condo Act, provincial act. So if you want to leave it in there, that's fine. But it's my way of thinking. It should respect the bylaws. That was my only comment on it. Thank you.
Turn my mic back on. Okay, next on the agenda, we have a registered presentation from the Edinburgh Entourage. Please come to the mic. Once again, please state clearly for your names for the record. Just a reminder, you have 10 minutes to make this one, followed by questions.
I am Joan Palmadam, and we are on behalf of the Edinburgh Entourage, a group of 14 Beaumont youth who are trying to embrace their passion for the arts and pursue their dreams of performing on a world stage. We have been working hard for the past year, fundraising and creating our play that we'll be performing at the festival. We want to tell you a little bit about our project and hopefully convince you that we are a group worth investing in and supporting as a community.
Hi, I'm Nyasha Chingono, and I too am a part of this amazing group of people. As a member of the Beaumont Composite Drama Program, we were offered the chance to take part in a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to perform at the Edinburgh International Fringe Festival. We are very excited to see the world and explore different cultures, as several members of our group have never left Canada. We are also super excited to share our Canadian culture amongst all whom we meet by performing at this international festival.
Sure, you can do that. Hello, I am Liam Shute. The Edinburgh Fringe Festival is the oldest and largest fringe festival in the world. The idea of a fringe festival was actually first invented in Edinburgh, Scotland. And every August, for 3 weeks, the city of Edinburgh welcomes an explosion of creative energy from all around the globe. Every year, thousands of performers take to hundreds of stages all over the city to present shows for every taste, from big names in the world of entertainment to unknown artists looking to build their careers. As young artists, we look forward to being inspired, but potentially also to inspire others with our work. Last spring, our drama teacher was invited to apply with 2,000 other schools in North America to attend the American High School Theater Festival in Edinburgh. after a lengthy application process, our program was selected as one of 80 total and only 2 Canadian groups to perform this August. This trip is obviously an opportunity of the lifetime, and we look forward to all the learning and adventure to be had. It is hard for us to imagine the impact this will have on the rest of our lives, and we know for sure it will be life-changing.
I am Renee Toll, and I want to tell you a bit about the play we're collectively writing to be performed at the Fringe Festival. Based on Canadian Ryan North's New York Best Time seller, Romeo and or Juliet, it's an interactive version of Romeo and Juliet that lets you determine the story that Shakespeare should have written. We all know the classic tale of the two star-crossed lovers, but there is plenty of other ways that they could have ended up together, as we all know. So maybe she follows him to Mantua, maybe they kill their overbearing parents and live happily ever after, or maybe Tybalt and Mercutio decide they're sick of lovers whining and put everybody out of their misery. You decide. It's a different show each day, and be sure to catch our performance in early June at the high school.
My name is Jeremiah Phillips, and as you can imagine, this is not a cheap endeavor due to the fact that this trip is a trip to perform, and therefore there are additional costs associated with performance. We will not only be representing our town, but our province and country. It is very important for you to know that we are not raising funds for travel. This program and experience is so much more. We will be ambassadors of our town, province, and country, and this will be a life-changing experience for all of us. We are performing at the world's largest performing arts festival, and we will be gaining practical, hands-on educational experience in the arts.
I'm Taylor Smalley, and on behalf of the Edinburgh Entourage, we feel that we are a group of people that all of Beaumont should be proud of. We come with our hats in our hands and have come here to ask you to help us make our dreams come true. We're very excited to represent our community on the world stage. And for the last year, we've been working very tirelessly to fundraise for ourselves while supporting many of Beaumont's events. We worked on cleaning the fairgrounds for Beaumont Blues and Roots. We ran the bouncy castles during the Beaumont's Canada 150 events and performed at the Culture Days events, and that's just to name a few things. We have several upcoming fundraisers as well, like the murder mystery that we put on a few weeks ago in the Kin Club will be remounted at Chartier. We will also be performing our fringe show, Romeo and or Juliet, in early June at the Beaumont Composite High School.
We would like to thank you for all your thank you all for your time and generosity. We would like to now ask if you have any questions for the group.
Thank you very much. That was a really informative presentation. Are there any questions of council, from council? Councilor Barnhart.
For sure. And thank you very much. Wonderful presentation, and thank you, Your Worship, for the opportunity to talk to these guys. I guess the number one question in my mind is you seem to be asking us for some help, but I don't know what you're asking for. Do you have an amount in mind, or are you short some money, or what is the ask? I saw dollar signs up there. That's what made me think of it.
Yeah.
And do you want me to ask somebody else, or do you want the answer?
Mrs. Yardley would know more.
I was going to say, I got a motion coming forward. We'll refer it to administration. They can get some details for April 10th meeting.
After this, so...
After you guys have asked questions about the process, I will make...
That was my only question, because I
That was your
know
only
quite a bit
question?
about it, and I support you 100 and...
Well, I don't know much
20%.
about it, so I got a few, but I'll let other members of council.
So far, we've fundraised $22,000, and we hopefully will want to fundraise. Well, this is what's going to take us is $150,000 in total. Obviously, you guys aren't going to provide that entire thing, but we will. We're asking for a small proportion to help us get there and help us perform and make our dream happen.
Cool. Are there any other questions from other members of council? Okay, so I don't know much about your group. So you mentioned in your presentation that only 2 groups were selected. How were you selected? What was the process? Tell me about how you got to where you are.
Here, I can
I'm interested. I want to know.
So it's a group, the AHSTF, the American High School Theater Festival, is a group that is out of the States, and they've been running for, this is their 25th year, sending high schools to the Edinburgh Fringe to perform in conjunction with the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. And so 6 years ago, the high school was invited, based on Mr. Keith Owaziak's experience in the program he built. And then last year, we were invited to apply. So you get invited to apply, and you're nominated by peers. So people in the community, I'm pretty sure it came from Edmonton, though, like another group in Edmonton nominated our program. And then we had paperwork to fill out, you know, what's your philosophy on teaching, what's your philosophy of the arts, what kind of show would you bring, all that kind of stuff. And then they have a selection committee, and then they select from there. So there's about 2,000 to 3,000 schools that get nominated every year, and then about 80 are selected every year. And 2 are from Canada, 1 from Alberta, and the other one's from the East Coast.
This is a fairly big deal.
It is a big deal, yeah.
So
And it's built on the backs of our program, too. It's important to know that we got chosen because we come from a history of good theater, I think. And so it speaks to our past as well.
Interesting.
And, yeah.
So how did you select the play you're going to do? Because it's kind of audience interactive, kind of fun.
Well, I don't know. It was kind of an idea, I guess, I had that I brought up to the students. So it was a book I read, and I just thought it would be a fun improvised play.
We're
sort
already
of.
a Canadian writer too, so.
Yeah, having something Canadian was important to us for sure.
Yeah.
And then we thought, I don't know, we've got a strong, talented group of improvisers. We've got a large variety of talent in our 15 students, or 14 students. So we have musical talent, we have improvised talent, we have all of them are part of the musical theater, or almost all of them. Some weren't, some are other types of performers, and so we wanted something fun, and we wanted something that wasn't going to stress us out. So the idea of doing a musical sure seems like a great idea because we had a lot of experience with musicals, but that's a huge endeavor to travel with. You have to bring costume sets, music, tech stuff is not. We wanted to go with something also unique and fringe-like. So the show is based on this idea of being able to give the audience a choice as to what they want things to happen, and then we have prepared it so that we have a couple options to it. So it gives you the sense of improvisation, but it's
Controlled.
yeah, exactly, controlled.
I appreciate that.
Interactive is the word. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Councillor Stowe, you got a question?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes. Will there be any chance to see the show in Beaumont or Leduc before you take it to Edinburgh?
Yes, we're performing at the Beaumont Composite High School. We've decided to take over the atrium. We're going to try to outfit it in sound equipment, and we're going to try and see how it works there, because the McLeod Theater is just too expensive, and we could do one night at the McLeod and pray that everybody buys tickets and we fill it, and that might make us some money, or it might not even, because it's so expensive. And so the high school is a better choice for us, and we can sell cheaper tickets for 5 nights in a row and hopefully bring 1 billion people out. That's our plan.
So 5 performances?
Yeah, right now I think it's 5. The May 30th to the 2nd is kind of our tentative dates right now of June, and that's our and then we might do 2 performances a night, one at 5 and then one at 7 or 8, kind of do a double showing, because the show's short. It's only maximum an hour and 15 minutes, but if you pick the wrong choices, it could be 15 minutes. Depends.
Do it again, make new choices.
That's exactly it. Yeah, we'll take it back to the beginning, and you get to choose again. Yeah. But yeah, so we will be performing it there, and then we did recently do a murder mystery that they wrote themselves based on a script that was provided to us, but they did a lot of the dialogue for another event, and we're remounting that at Chartier on May 7th. And if you're interested, since I'm here, I'll plug the One Act Festival. We have 14 plays being produced at the high school right now for the One Act Festival, and they're going up the week of the 19th, April 19th. So if you want to see what these kids are doing, watch Facebook. There will be an event. We're going to push that, and they'll be selling concession items there for money too. Yeah.
You guys got a busy schedule coming here in the next 2 months.
Yeah, it is.
When's the actual trip happen?
August.
August.
We leave July 28th, and we come back the 12th of August.
Awesome. Are there any last questions from council? No. Okay, so I'm going to move that council receive the presentation as information and direct administration to provide a request for decision for consideration of a donation at the April 10th, 2018 regular council meeting. Any discussion on the motion? Councillor Moncalfe-Swain.
Thank you. It's pretty lonely over here, so I thought I'd get a couple words in. I guess the question is regarding the motion. So this has come up before in the past, the request for funds. We had at one point asked for administration to come back with more of a policy around this sort of thing. It sounds like your motion is asking for a recommendation just based on this one-off. Is that correct?
Yeah, the motion is to bring back a report based on what our current policy is, what kind of funding sources might be available, etc.
Okay. So I guess the question then for administration is, correct me if I'm wrong, but last time this came up, we had a conversation about potentially updating the policy. Where are we at with that?
CEO Swartz.
Oh, yep. Thank you, Councillor Moncalfe-Swain. Yes, we're developing a policy and a procedure. That'll come back to council later this summer, the early part of the summer. That'll help we'll establish some criteria for making these decisions, including a budget. So that'll come back to council. But you're right, this is a one-of, so we will analyze it on its merits.
Okay. So just a supplementary. So essentially, the policy's coming, but we're not there yet, and so we need to provide a decision on this to this group. Therefore, that's why the recommendation is for April 10th.
April 10th meeting, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
First council meeting in April.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion? All right. All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thanks so much for your time. Sorry, technical difficulties.
Don't steal the clicker.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, moving right along.
Yes, I am responsible for these young people.
I'm not judging. I've been there. All right, item 6B. Is there anybody else in council chambers wishing to address council this evening? You're early. All right, if there's nobody present in council chambers, we will move on to item 7A, development permit number 2018-066, home-based business permit and direct control district. Ms. Raymond.
Thank you, Your Worship. Earlier tonight, we held a public hearing for development permit 2018-066 for a home-based business located at 18 Colonial Gate. We are recommending that council approve this development permit with the conditions that are shown on which attachment? Attachment 1. I just want to draw your attention to one condition there in regards to the signage and just in relation to a previous comment. We did clarify in the proposed conditions that the signage is only permitted under the town's land use bylaw. So we did try to make that clarification because before we just said that the signage was permitted in the version that was circulated to the adjacent landowner. So we've clarified where that's actually permitted, and we have no concerns with that.
So the applicant would still need permission of the condo board to have a sign?
Absolutely.
But if we didn't put in that recommendation, then he couldn't have a sign, even if they approved it?
We're permitted the sign under the land use bylaw. The compliance with the condominium property is between the homeowner and the condo board.
Okay, so if we leave it in and the condo board relents and says you can have a sign, then it's approved and we're not going to see them back at council for an amendment?
And if the condo board says no, then that's
Cool. It's in your hands.
Still would be interesting in terms of bylaws falling under the condo association under the condo act. And I don't know which one is
I believe that becomes a private matter between two landowners that the town would not be involved in at that point. So our recommendation is that council approve development permit 2018-066 for a home-based business.
Okay, can I get somebody to move the motion? Councillor Munkoff Swain.
I'll move the motion.
Would you like to speak to it?
I'd love to. So I understand we added some words in there to say the town's land use bylaw. Just curious, why even? What's the point of the condition being in there if it's there's a concern outlined here and we're trying to debate between who's got the jurisdiction? Like what would happen if it wasn't in there?
Thank you, Your Worship, to Councillor Munkoff Swain. This is a standard condition in our development permits. They are permitted to sign underneath our land use bylaw. We can only compel compliance with our own land use bylaw and town regulations, and currently that is something that this property would enjoy other than those condo bylaws.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. The purpose of this is to give you bylaw 903-18, the subdivision authority bylaw, for first reading. Section 623 of the Municipal Government Act requires that council must by bylaw provide for a subdivision authority to exercise subdivision powers and duties on behalf of the municipality. Currently, the town does have a subdivision authority bylaw, which is bylaw 442-95, the Municipal Planning Commission bylaw, which establishes the current subdivision authority as the general manager, manager of administration, manager of community development, and the manager of engineering, and any one member of council. So the bylaw refers to outdated titles, departments, and duties. We've doubled in size since this bylaw was adopted in 1995. We've had an increase in development pressures leading to more subdivisions, and we have restructured over the years as a result of these different changes. The bylaw also doesn't reflect current Municipal Government Act regulations or municipal best practices. We did undertake a comparison of what our neighbors are doing in the region before we drafted this update to the bylaw. And a few changes were needed to make to modernize this bylaw. A few of those changes were composition of the subdivision authority, the meeting structure, and allowing for minor amendments to be made by the subdivision authority prior to endorsement to allow for ease of use and developer certainty. So currently, we're proposing to designate the Chief Administrative Officer as the subdivision authority. As I mentioned previously, we do have a subdivision authority. It's our Municipal Planning Commission, but there are this will provide more flexibility to accommodate staff turnover, reorganization of departments and leadership, and ensures clarity and consistency by not including those outdated references. I should mention here that by delegating this to the CAO, this would then be delegated down through by the CAO to the Director of Integrated Growth, who has relevant technical knowledge to be able to evaluate these subdivision applications. Other municipalities in this region do have their administrative staff as the subdivision authority, including the City of Edmonton, City of Leduc, Spruce Grove, Fort Sask, and St. Albert. As a result of switching that from having a municipal planning commission, we would be changing the meeting structure. The meeting would then become a closed meeting. However, pursuant to the Municipal Government Act, the subdivision authority would still be notifying adjacent landowners. Minutes would still be posted along on the website as well as the agendas, so people would still have the opportunity to comment and to participate in that process. It just wouldn't be open to people to attend that meeting. They would still be held on a regular basis, though. And then the other major change that we would be making is minor amendments. So currently right now, if somebody wants to realign a road, make a lot line adjustment, add a lot, they actually have to go back to our Municipal Planning Commission for subdivision approval, which increases delays and also increases administrative redundancy as we have to recirculate this or bring that around again. So it's just increasing processing time. So the minor modifications would only be allowed if they meet all the following criteria that are there. So it would be no more than one more lot. They can't be making any changes to the location of the MR, ER, or skill reserves. We're not compromising our infrastructure standards or roadway standards. We're still having appropriate staging, and they all still have to comply with town bylaws and adopted stat plans. We've included the summary of the significant bylaw changes in attachment 4, and then following the first reading of this bylaw, we will advertise the bylaw in anticipation of holding a public hearing on April 10th, 2018. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone willing to make the motion to give first reading to Subdivision Authority Bylaw 90318? Councillor Monkoff Swain. You move it? All right.
Moved it, please.
Okay. Is there any discussion or questions of administration? Councillor Stout.
Thank you, Your Worship. I've read this several times and I'm still grappling a little bit with it. I'm not quite clear exactly what the reasons for doing this. So perhaps you can help me form a better understanding. The document refers to, in the analysis rationale, refers to other municipalities having made a similar change. But that's, because other people have done it, is not a reason for making the change, I don't believe, or shouldn't be. Then we go on to the composition of the subdivision authorities. So presumably the purpose of making that change is to move from a lay background into to ensure that we've got the necessary technical skills and experience to make these decisions. So that's my first question. The second one is, then we go on to meeting structure. It's not clear to me why we're moving from a closed to an open, from an open to a closed meeting to make these decisions. And the third one, the minor amendments, I assume that's just to streamline the process. I think you've already spoken to that a little bit. Could you just confirm or refute my assumptions, please?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship, through to Councillor Stout. The purpose of changing this is because the current composition of the Municipal Planning Commission as it stands right now is that people do not necessarily have the existing technical knowledge required to make planning decisions. So sometimes some of the questions that, so there's been some issues with that. We've also found that there are issues coordinating schedules for meetings, which has led to delays. Sometimes it may take us a month or a couple of months to be able to get that in there, which is leading to us delaying development, unnecessarily, not for any issues with their application, but just simply because we couldn't get the meeting adjusted. So we're just trying to make things, we're trying to, I guess, stop having extensions to the time frame. We're having to go back and having our applicants give us extensions. They have to sign something. We have legislated time frames that we're required to meet under the Municipal Government Act for turnaround times. And if we don't issue a decision within that time frame, it can be deemed refused, or we have to be getting an extension from them. So it's just more administrative red tape, if you will, that we're trying to diminish. One of the other things with that is currently right now our Municipal Planning Commission bylaw is very rigid. So without being able to allow for minor lot amendments and stuff like that, where if you just want to move a property line, you have to come back for subdivision approval again to have an amendment to your application, which, really just it unnecessarily complicates the issue. And then the reason for having it go from an open meeting to a closed meeting is simply because there's going to be one person having this. It doesn't make sense to have, it was felt that it didn't make sense to have
that be an open meeting. It's really going to be maybe a 15-minute meeting. They're very short typically. Typically, not many people come. There might be just the applicant there, and the opportunity still is there for adjacents to provide their comments and their input, so they'll still be considered. So that was why we had gone with that. But essentially, it's just been very outdated, and it's just been very cumbersome for us to manage this bylaw, so that's why we're modernizing it.
Okay. Before we get dragged down into the weeds, just wanted to let everybody know that there will be more opportunity to discuss the next council meeting. Maybe some of the confusion, though, can you just give me Subdivision Authority 101 so that people know what that actually means?
Sure. Thank you, Your Worship. The Subdivision Authority exercises subdivision powers and duties on behalf of the municipality. They make decisions on subdivision in conformance with the Municipal Government Act. So they determine what conditions are applicable to the subdivision, such as entering into the development agreement to construct the infrastructure that's needed to service the development. Talks about payment of levies and securities. All of those criteria are laid out within the Municipal Government Act, what we can ask for. And that's, I guess, what they do, so subdivision.
Okay, and so they also
Creating
act
lots.
within the bounds of town policy and procedure and bylaws and all that stuff?
Pardon me, sorry?
So when they're exercising that authority, they're also within the land use bylaw and all the rest of our town policies and procedures?
That is correct.
Okay. Where was I going with this? And so that anything odd would still come to council as normal, for lack of a better phrase?
Your Worship, most of the subdivision stuff doesn't go to council. It goes to the Municipal Planning Commission, which would be that body, and then this body would be delegated through there.
Ms. Mohammed.
Thank you, Your Worship. As a subdivision authority, you can't approve anything that isn't permitted in our documents. So if they were proposing something completely off the wall, we would have to come back in, to council and look at some sort of redistricting or an amendment to the bylaw.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's where I was headed with that. Okay. Councillor Munkhausen, Wayne, you got a question?
Just a comment really quickly as the member. Well, I guess I'm the alternate now. On the current MPC, I just concur. It was an absolute hassle to try and struggle to find timelines to be able to get everyone here. And then the phrase, which I appreciated, says it calls for commission members who do not necessarily have the technical background. So that's speaking directly at me. So you're very political in how you answered the question, but essentially we're trying to. This is all about efficiency. These guys are the technical experts. We should just let them make the decision, and it doesn't relieve any authority from us in terms of the high level, in terms of the planning framework. It's more on that detailed level. So this is just about making sure that we can provide a bit more efficiency, predictability to developers and that sort of thing. That can only be a good thing. Maybe the comment that I'd speak to is if you could just, while this process is changing, could you just touch on the appeals board and how that still is in place? I think that explaining that might help as well. So you've got this piece, the decision is made, but then there's still the other option.
And let's not forget, this is still just first reading.
Okay, through your worship to Councillor Munkhausen. So yes, there is, the subdivision authority makes a decision to either approve with conditions or refuse the subdivision application. The applicant does have the ability to appeal any conditions placed on the subdivision application to the Subdivision Development and Appeal Board, which is made up of duly authorized people. The council's authorized.
Thank you, and I know this is for first reading, Your Worship, and I'll keep it short. But I sat on the Municipal Planning Commission in the last term, and I do. Sure, so I've got my mind open to that change, but I just want to challenge a little bit the idea that you have to have the technical knowledge. Given some of the conversations and the issues that came to the Municipal Planning Commission in the past, it was issues that related to the town and how the people in the town relate to the land use and the subdivisions, and some of the concerns about trails and where the roads went, and so you being on council and and being in other departments in the town, there were very good questions and very good comments that were then, it's not just following the rules the way they are, there's discretion about how those rules can be applied. So I think we do lose something by going to one person, and I guess the change, I'm kind of wondering with Councillor Stout, like, is this simply to streamline, or is there a sense that we don't go the way that maybe if you were just thinking from a planning perspective and a land use perspective, you might not be thinking about recreation or trails. I hate to say that. I'm not even going to look at Ms. Mohammed because she's probably going to give me the evil eye, because that's not at all how she thinks. I know that. but I wouldn't want it to be just narrowly focused. And I think that holistic view, we need to keep that. So I know it's only first reading.
No. Ms. Mohammed.
Thank you, Your Worship. So in the almost 3 years since I've been here, there's been a number of times, and this isn't anything to do with elected officials, where the Commission has been put in awkward positions where personal positions are being put forward instead of knowledge based on the land use bylaw and our area structure plans and our approved council documents. So when it comes to making decisions on subdivision, there's slight leeway, and a road might be here or slightly to the right or the left, but it doesn't come down to personal. It comes down to the rules that council has set out in the municipal development plan and all those cascading documents that come underneath there. So essentially the rules for subdivision come out, like specific regulations come out of the land use bylaw, which council will be working on approving. Part of the process that won't change is the circulation of the subdivisions to the different departments in the organization, as well as elected are opt and copied on these things that are circulated. So that is the opportunity for feedback to be offered from expertise of Carrie's department right down to elected, if there's any feedback to go into there. But certainly no decision would be made in this case that is outside of the authority of the subdivision authority. If there was any question at all that something had to be redistricted, rezoned, a policy had to change in a bylaw, it would be brought back here before a decision would be made on that subdivision. Thank you.
Thank you. Any follow-up questions, comments?
No, thank you.
Sorry. Councillor Daniluk, quick question.
Am I on?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Worship. Very quick question then, Mr. Raymond. On attachment 3 on page 49, it talks about subdivision authority meetings open or closed to the public. Beaumont says opened, Edmonton, Leduc, so on, all say closed. And my fellow councillor, Mr. Stout, said that a moment ago, if I heard you correctly, we're moving to a closed meeting environment. Is that correct? Or are we staying open, whereas our counterparts are having closed subdivision authority meetings regarding the public?
Thank you, Your Worship. To Councillor Daniluk, this attachment is referring to our current condition.
Correct.
So the current condition is that it is open.
Correct.
And then the proposed is to close it.
Close it, okay. And the rationale for that is just to streamline the process?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any further questions from council? All right, so first reading, all in favor? Carried unanimously. All right, next item on the agenda, item 8B, bylaw 907-18, 2018 supplementary assessments, second and third reading. Mr. Harris.
Short and sweet. Administration recommends that second and third reading be given to bylaw 907-18.
Can I get a member of council to move second reading? Councillor Daniluk.
So moved, Your Worship. Thank you.
Any discussion on the motion? Councillor Stout.
Thank you, Your Worship. A quick question that occurs to me looking through this is how frequently do we do supplementary assessments? Or historically, how frequently have we done supplementary assessments?
Through Your Worship, to Councillor Stout, rest of council, and the audience. We've done it, I know, ever since I've been here and well before that. So yes.
Annually?
Yes, once a year. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Daniluk.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick question. On the review on the next page, it says budget financial impact. Pardon me. Original tax source of revenue, $106,000 2017, $135 for 2016, and $120 for 2015. Is that just? I'm not sure why that's there. Is that something we're getting revenue retroactively with this? I don't think we are we? I'm misinterpreting what that line means. If I can ask that question.
Through Your Worship to Councillor Daniluk, the rest of the council and the audience. Yes, we collect this revenue at the end of the year, so October, get paid by hopefully the beginning of December. So it's not assessed in April. It's assessed as a supplementary for new residential or commercial that's completed between April assessment and October. So that's it's a supplemental additional to what we tax for in April.
Thank you.
As it's worded there, I don't have it up on my screen right now. But, the motion is to call for unanimous consent on the third reading. Is that? Do I have to read it that way?
No, no.
It just need third? Okay. Yes. Then I would make a motion to pass third reading.
All right. Councillor Committee reports. Item 9A. I think Councillor Daniluk had one.
Am I good to go?
You're good to go.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to just report to Council a meeting I had today with fellow Councillor Munkoff Swain and also Mr. Kerry Hiltz from our administration to the County of Leduc. We presented to their council our vision of Aquafit 2. We presented the actual drawings of the building, the structure itself, explained the history of it, how they got to this point. We also walked through our budget process where our council prudently passed a motion to fiscally be responsible and proceed with Aquafit 2, provided we have appropriate government funding. Our objective today with the council of the County of Leduc was to let them know the project parameters and what our expectations were in terms of requesting their support with a letter of support for collaboration of our two municipalities when we apply the government grant program provincially and federally to fund our Aquafit 2 project, and also to open the dialogue with them at the committee level to talk about potential capital funding and operating capital from the County of Leduc for Aquafit 2. We had a very good meeting. It was well received by their council. They did inform us they'd be voting to be in favor of a letter of support for our council on our application for future funding for Aquafit 2, and also they were supportive of going to the committee level to discuss future funding, both capital and operating. It was an exceptionally good meeting today. And Mr. Hiltz did a very good job presenting on behalf of our town, and Mr. Munkoff Swain did a very good job presenting our position to their council. It was well received.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hiltz, councillors. I really appreciate your making that effort and reaching out to other councils within the region. I really think it really speaks to our newfound willingness to collaborate and be regional with our neighbors, so to speak. Are there any other councillor statements this evening? Okay, hearing none. Item 10, CAO's update.
Well, thank you very much, Your Worship, members of council, and the public. I got a couple quick items, and I'm going to pass it over to Mr. Hiltz for a third item. Our annual census is beginning on May 1st. We'll start with the ability to ability to submit electronically, and then we will follow that up with a door-to-door campaign on beginning May 15th.
The idea of the census with a community of ours that's growing so rapidly is the ability to access grant dollars, and we access approximately $250, $257 per person that we include in our census, so it makes sense to do this on an annual basis. So you'll see that happening. The little addition here, whether you noticed it when you walked into the building, we have a display screen in the foyer that started up today that'll start bannering different pieces of information. And then later on this summer, we'll be installing a touch screen in the lobby that folks can do different things, look for information, check on rules, eventually pay bills. So you'll see that coming in this summer. So we're just modernizing and streamlining the customer experience. And I'd like to pass over to somebody who's done most of the heavy lifting on this and give you an update.
Thank you, Worship. Member of Council, I just wanted to give you a quick update on the cannabis public engagement through the survey process. By day 4, we've had 500 surveys completed. When we look at the results, we're fairly consistent to what the other communities have heard through their survey processes. So we will be, after we have about 3.5 weeks to go in the surveys, so we're hoping to have about 800 to 900 completed surveys. So we are encouraging council members to reach out to their followers and the committees that they sit on to ensure that people fill out those surveys. We will be bringing back a report to elected officials, probably the first meeting in May, with the survey results and some direction on recommendation and direction on how this will impact Beaumont moving forward. So things are moving along just fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Mr. Schwartz, 2 weeks ago we had a presentation at Council from the Nisku-Leduc Economic Development body, and they talked about how they propose economic development in the area. And I did ask them to give us an indication as to their role in bringing businesses to Beaumont in the recent past. They had indicated they would provide some information to us. Has the administration received anything from them in that regard? I'm assuming they haven't. And if you can let us know if you haven't received anything. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, Councillor Daniluk. No, we have not, but we'll follow up with them tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just regarding the census collection of information that's going on, what are the parameters for that? If there was a particular question, I won't get into the question, but if there was a particular question that we would want to ask our residents while we're at their door, is there an opportunity to do that outside of just collecting information?
Thank you, Worship. Through you to Councillor Munkoff-Swain. The questions that we have are set with the parameters with regards to population growth and things. So if I think I know where you're going with that question, no, we would not be able to have that question asked at the doors with regards to census and with what falls under the MGA.
So the short answer is the questions that we potentially want to ask these people are limited to census, so population, age, income, that sort of thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Worship. Through you to the administration, I recall in years past that council had some choices to make as to which questions were added on the census. Is that no longer the case?
Thank you, Worship. Through you to Councillor Barnhart. Those questions were sent out and approved by previous council, and we alternate year to year. They're the same questions, and it's an alternation. It's an even and an odd with the years.
Thank you very much, Mr. Schwartz. 12, notices of motion. Are there any members of council that have notices of motion? None. Okay, I have 2. First notice of motion, and this is coming straight from our committee of the whole meeting, and the discussions surrounding there. So in order to get it on the order paper, here we go. That administration provide council with a review of the town's child care program to include the following options. Option A, the financial impacts and benefits to the town on operating a more comprehensive child care program. Example, more seats and space. Option B, financial and social impacts to the town on not operating its child care program. Impacts to the quality of i.e. impacts to the quality of child care in Beaumont. Item C, financial and philosophical impacts to the town on providing support to privately licensed child care programs, including day homes, as opposed to operating our child care program. Item D, impacts to private licensed child care businesses within the town operating or not operating its child care program. Item E, what does a cost recovery child care model look like if the town maintains the status quo? I'm proposing that this work be carried out in 3 phases. Phase 1, information gathering for council so that council has the facts and information to make an informed decision on how to move forward or not. Phase 2, after council has considered the information, based on council's recommendations on 1 or 2 of the options above, as described above, that council direct administration to seek community input and bring back a report on the findings for decisions for consideration. And phase 3, a report back to council on findings for decision and action as required. That will be bring forth at our April 10th council meeting. Second notice of motion, that council directs administration to review the committees of council, including terms of reference, committee composition, appropriate resource allocation, strategic alignment, and duplication. This is just a good time to do it. We're in the first year of our term, and I don't think it's been done in a while. So I'm proposing that we review our committees and see if we need to add some, delete some, as we're going. All right. If there are no other notices of motion, are there anything? There's no in-camera tonight, is there? No. All right. Last chance. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.